So don't need to tell you, ended up in prison. And I've been in prison before, but this is a whole kettle of fish, man. I'm in prison in Spain. I'd no money. Like, I think I'd went to prison with a card, but you can't use a card. So I had €2 cash, 2 coins, and that was my spending money. Right? So I'm in this, like, the ingresso it's called. So you're in the first day, and it's like the kind of holding cell kind of thing, right? And it's just for like Spanish gypsies and drug addicts and stuff like that. It's a bit of rough places, like bare essentials, like, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, fuck, this is what I'm going to be for the next fucking, I don't know how many years. I don't know what the fuck's happening, right?
Thanks for tuning in to the Apter Party podcast. My guest on today's episode, Brian Hyslop, is a professional MMA fighter and a mental fortitude coach. I really enjoyed having this conversation with Brian. It's one of my favourite conversations that I've had so far on the podcast. And having this chat with him really helped me understand through the experiences that he's had and the life that he's lived, why he's now in a position where he's developed a sense of mental strength that he can pass on to other people through the coaching that he's doing and the people that he's working with online or in person. If you enjoy listening to today's episode, please give us a like and subscribe. Please also feel free to share the episode with your friends or on social media, and also check out the episode sponsors, Paradaiza. They're a cool Edinburgh-based clothing brand. I'll provide a link to their website and their socials in the episode description. Enjoy. You were talking to me there in the lift coming up the stairs, telling me that you have been doing auditions for a film recently.
Aye.
So tell me about that.
I'm starring in my first movie, and it's a director from Edinburgh, Gary Fraser, and he just messaged me randomly on Instagram. He liked some of my posts and he was following me for a bit, and I seen that he's obviously made a few movies, and his movies are cool. He had Chris Bungyard in one of his movies.
Oh yeah.
And Chris is actually in this movie that I'm doing with him. So
what's it about?
It's like a prison set movie, and obviously my past of being in prison recently and that, he reached out to me. But I'm actually a prison guard. I'm a screw in it.
Right,
which is quite cool. But it's good. It's been good fun. I'm filming it on Saturday. I've been practicing it. We've been doing rehearsals the last few weeks. Aye, it's a good wee thing to do. I've filmed a few. I've made a few music videos in the past.
Wow.
Through fighting. And it's another avenue to explore.
Definitely.
I'm going to be on IMDb, and I'm going to have an official profile and that. So we'll see what it leads to.
Amazing. Do you know how long the filming's going to go on for? Or?
I'm not actually entirely sure, mate. I've got a decent scene with lines and stuff like that, so we'll see. I don't know.
Wicked.
But he's a great director and he's a great guy. Aye, it'll be good fun. I'm really looking forward to filming it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it turns out. Amazing.
Yeah, they'll maybe open up some other avenues for you.
I mean, life's been crazy the last few months. I can't even pinch myself sometimes with what's been happening, but
totally
things like that. I mean, if you do good in life, I think, and you start to think with this positive mindset, or you start to think that life can give you good things, they start to come to you, I think, you know what I mean?
100%.
If you sit in your bum and think, life's bad and why am I in this position, you're just going to get nothing. But I'm not like that. I'm open to everything now, and I'm super grateful, I'm super blessed for everything that comes, so long may it continue.
That's wicked. Yeah, you've obviously had a crazy few months, like lots been happening. We'll get onto that. I want to backtrack a bit and kind of start at the beginning.
Right.
Obviously you were fighting recently. A big part of what we'll be talking about today, I suppose there's a lot of stuff involving your fighting career and martial arts. The first question that I wanted to ask you was in regards to your dad, because fighting runs in your family, right? Your dad was a boxer, is that right?
My dad and my granddad were professional boxers.
Wow.
My dad was a featherweight, he was decent fighter back in the day. He's got quite a good reputation even still to this day. It's in the blood, I think, you know what I mean? So my granddad fought, he's obviously learned it from my granddad. I fight, my brother fought, my cousin fought, my other cousin fights MMA, and my son's going to fight. So
your son's going to fight as well?
100%. my son's
it's
3.
set in stone already.
My son's 3, and there's even, it's happening.
I've seen videos of him. You've got him at wrestling practice already, right?
I've got him at wrestling, and a good class as well. I messaged the guy that's got a kind of kids class in Glasgow, and I said, listen, my son's only 3. What's the youngest age? And he said it's like 4.5. I usually take them in, as if to kind of say no. And then he must have looked at my profile and seen that I was a fighter or whatever. He's like, but since you've got a bit of experience, bring him up. And I'd been doing pads with my son for a while. All my daughters do pads as well. And I'm always got them in the gym, you know what I'm saying? So they know how to act in a gym. I wasn't too scared of that. And wow, he's an athlete, man. He goes in, he's the smallest guy, the youngest guy. He's just got this big smile on his face every session. He gets taken down, and there's like some like Russian kids in it, like some kids that know how to wrestle, you know what I mean?
Tough.
And it was really tough. And he just gets taken down and smiles, comes back up, shakes her hand. He's got some form of, he's got sportsmanship that I can see, and he's got that kind of drive. He's a game wee strong kid. He's 3 years old, mate. You know what I mean? We'll see how it goes. But
he's got natural athleticism already. You can kind of see in result.
He's powerfully built. He's got a great attitude. And even when I teach him the pads, he's willing to learn. Do you know what I'm saying? He's not like, he doesn't get easily distracted. So there's like other kids in the class that I see, and they're like maybe a bit older than him, and they're always like playing and messing about. He's not. I told him from day one, look at your coach, focus on your coach, and don't act silly. And he comes over and he's like, "You proud of me, Dad?" And I'm saying, "He's 3 years old, man." He's like, "You proud of me for that?" And I'm saying, "I'm fucking proud of you, man. That's well enough, you know."
That's amazing.
So wrestling base, get him into boxing when he's a wee bit older, and we'll see how it goes.
I feel like grappling's the best base for them to start with, right, at kids, because it's obviously you're kind of avoiding the blows to the head and stuff as well. There's a safety aspect of it, and then I just feel like there's something that there's a real resilience that comes with learning to grapple. So like wrestling or judo or.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I learned boxing. I've done karate, in fact, when I started karate, Jeet Kune Do, then boxing. But I missed out on the fact that I never grappled as a young kid, you know. I can box, and I've got a lot of all the experience of boxing I've got that a lot of grapplers won't have. But I find MMA is just more grappling based, just maybe even 60% to 40%, whatever you want to say. But even judo fighters that come from Scotland or the UK, they've got just that really good strong base in grappling. It's really difficult to fight them. And then you said the mindset stuff as well. So I from my experience, I think a kid should be grappling early at early an age, maybe getting pads done and learning how to box, and then I wouldn't put them into head contact until like 13, 14 at the youngest. I think younger than that, you can be I've seen kids that have started boxing younger than that, and when they're adults, they're a wee bit, I can notice some wee things in them, especially boxers.
Yeah. It's a lot of repetitive. Want that for my kid. Yeah, a lot of repetitive blows. Sorry, I'm cutting you off there.
I know. You can see those wee signs up on strunkness and stuff like that, and they're like 25 and that, and because they've been boxing, because I've been in boxing all my life, and I've seen the kids that started really young, and then when they're a wee bit older, I can notice that. To even me, like I started maybe sparring hard at like 14. And I can't say I'm punch drunk. I'm like quite sharp enough. Maybe a few wee blows in the head that have caused some problems, but I think I've got the sharpness that a lot of kids maybe that started a bit younger than me. I can see that they talk funny and they kind of act a bit funny in that. I noticed it. That's
interesting. I've never heard somebody sort of like actually categorise it as specifically as that, but I suppose it would kind of make sense. I mean, they're stopping kids like heading in footballs and stuff like that now up to a certain age. I don't know if that's maybe extreme, but I feel like there seems to be more and more evidence getting presented now for, you know, things like that.
I mean, there has got to be the safety element to protect kids, but don't change too much up, you know what I mean? Try and conserve some of the traditional things that we do.
Yeah.
If a kid's heading a football and then he stops playing football and goes out and drinks in the street or whatever he does, I don't know, keep it. It's never really damaged anybody, I think. I'm not a doctor, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's extremes with it. There's extremes with it as with anything.
You can be too soft on people.
Yeah.
I think even I'll probably speak about this later on. Like, I think there's too much softness in the world. And taking head in the football out of football is just one of the things that I'm not really with that.
It's not going to be the same game, is it? Really?
I don't really like football, but I just don't like the softness, mate. Leave the softness for. Keep it there.
So you were obviously exposed to this warrior mentality very young, then, right? So you've kind of grown up. You've seen your dad as a boxer. You're in the presence of your granddad, your family members and stuff. What age were you when you first started getting into martial arts? Then
4. When I started doing karate, and then I done Jeet Kune Do at about like 7, 8, and then I didn't really start boxing until I was like 13, 14. My dad, even though he was a professional, my dad never wanted me to box. He still doesn't. He's never encouraged me to fight. He doesn't like the fighting for his children or whatever. And I see his point in a sense. I think that's more to do with because maybe he, as a professional, got mistreated from managers and stuff like that, and that's left a bad taste in him. And my dad loves boxing, I see that, but he's too hard on the fact that he didn't want his kids to box. You know what I mean? But I'm a grown man. I fought and done what I wanted to do anyway. But I seen that my dad's a bit too negative towards it. But as a father, I see his point as well. So I can't get too annoyed at him for him like, holding me back. But if I could do it again, if I could live it again, I would love my dad to be a little bit more encouraging and taking part and maybe teaching me a little bit more, because he's got a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
But because he never really liked boxing at all, he was always like, nah, don't fight, don't. Do you know what I mean? It was, but it is what it is.
What about your granddad? Did he take an active interest or give you encouragement?
Nah, my granddad passed away before I even boxed, mate.
Right.
But I knew he was a fighter and heard stories about him. And my granddad was one of the tough men. He worked in the Clyde shipbuilding. A tough Scottish Glaswegian, mate. Do you know what I mean? I can always remember that, and that stuck with me. And it's gave my dad. I can see his influence on my dad. That's the way my dad is as well. So, to be honest with you, I'm quite blessed in the fact that I've been always round about like strong men. Whereas I know a lot of people haven't been. A lot of people that I know haven't been, and it's a shame. But I like it. I like the fact that I'm quite strong-minded and grew up around these people.
Yeah.
My granddad's, funny that I say my dad never really took much part in it, but my granddad's best friend was actually my boxing coach.
Right.
When my granddad passed away, he became like a grandfather figure to me.
Like a mentor.
Aye.
Yeah.
And he, so I'm from the East End of Glasgow, and this gym, the Denison Amateur Boxing Club, was where I went to another club before that, then I went here, and I swear, man, every kid I know, every adult I know had went at one point to the Denison Amateur Boxing Club.
Yeah.
It was just an institution, and I mean, it's probably like 50 pence to go and train, and it's changed a lot of people's lives by just having that there. Do you know what I mean? It was like, such a great thing. And when his name was John McNair, when he passed away, it kind of fell away a wee bit. I noticed that. It kind of fell away a wee bit. But some of the guys that were in that gym when they were younger, they've taken over a new gym. It's called the Shettleston Boxing Gym. So I go down there now and I do some sparring and train with some of the kids, and you need things like that in like in a rough area. You need an area, you need an outlet, of martial arts or boxing or something.
Definitely.
It's necessary.
That's getting kids off the street, right, and keeping them out of mischief and giving them an outlet, as you said, teaching them discipline, like among many other things, teaching them to overcome difficult situations and overcome adversity. Exactly. You mentioned there that you're from the East End of Glasgow. What was life like for you growing up out with the martial arts? What was your early life like, and what was it like growing up in the East End of Glasgow?
I mean, I'm actually from a town just next to it, a village, Uddingston, which is a really lovely area, and it's nice. I mean, but I'm from the East End, if you know what I mean. So I kind of always went about the East End. I lived in Uddingston, but always went about the East End, and it's a lovely area. Like great people. There is a few things like a lot of alcoholism and a lot of gangs when I was younger and stuff like that. And I just kind of got myself involved with a lot of stuff like that, like fighting and all the trouble you get when you're a young kid. But it was a good upbringing. I had a great upbringing, to be honest with you. And then I was always really well behaved. I was a boxer and like life was good. But I remember when I was a teenager, I get stabbed at like 16, and like I was fighting with somebody in a chip shop, and the guy pulled a knife out and stabbed me, and that kind of set me a wee bit. Oh fuck this! I'm a wee bit like maybe PTSD. I don't know what you call it, but maybe a wee bit more harder to life. And then a year after that, I get stabbed again really badly. I was going into town with like 3 or 4 friends, and there was this other kind of gang that we were fighting with. There was like 3 or 4 incidents we had with this particular other gang, and one night they outnumbered us. There was maybe about 15 of them to the 5 of us. I think 3, so there's 5 of us. I think 3 of the guys I was with ran away, and one guy who ended up my best friend for life, he get leathered, he get beat up right next to me, and get knocked out or whatever, and then the 15 of them just attacked me.
Wow.
So I think they were chasing us down the road, and we kind of ran away, obviously. And I've seen a bottle of wine in the road, in the ground, and I've ran up and tried to fight back with them.
Yeah.
And I've ran into them, which is fucking stupid, you know what I mean? And I just remember getting held down. They slashed my face. they stabbed my back a few times.
Wow.
And they were like kind of holding me with my hands behind my back, just plugging into me.
Wow.
Quite a mad situation. And I think I nearly died. I was on life support machine.
Jesus.
I spent a month in hospital, like kind of recovering. My lung collapsed and it wasn't recoverating properly. So a full month I spent in hospital. And that kind of set me off my head a wee bit.
I bet. How many times did they stab you?
I think I get stabbed like 8 times or something like that. One in my back, one in my lung, one in my arm. And they slashed me. I had a big slash down my face for a little while.
Yeah.
Luckily that went away, but it was funny because I remember when it happened to me, I was drunk. I never usually drunk. It was the first time I'd ever drunk in the town. I wasn't really much of a drinker. And I remember seeing like these guys and they're like, "You alright, son?" And I said, "Oh, have I been slashed?" And they're like, "Look at your fucking side." And my side was shooting out blood.
Jesus.
And I texted a guy, this guy saved my life and drove me to hospital, saved my life. And I remember being in the hospital, mate, and like, I was like, oh, fuck, is this what's happened to me? Do you know what I mean? I get angry. I get really angry at the world. I remember looking in the mirror every day and going, this has never fucking happened to me again.
Yeah.
I'll never allow this to happen to me again. And then from that, when I left, I had a bit of a chip in my shoulder maybe, and I just get involved in a lot of fights.
Mm-hmm.
I was fighting like every weekend, and the guy that got knocked out ended up my best pal. He caused a lot of fights, and he's got 5 brothers. There's 5 of them, and see, because that guy, his name's Gavin Brown. He's like my best pal, like really, really fantastic human being. I would always kind of, if he was ever in trouble, I'd always be there for him. Do you get what I'm saying? Because he was there for me.
Yeah.
And his brothers were fighting, I'd always be there for them.
Yeah.
And it was just a vicious cycle, man.
You were 16 when this happened?
I was 17 when that happened.
17.
16 the first time, 17 the second time. And it's mad because a lot of my friends have been stabbed at that age. It's quite normal for me, but then when you speak to, I've spoke to people about it and they're like, fuck's sake, that's not really a normal thing.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think Glasgow had like a reputation for like being the murder capital of Western Europe and that, particularly East End of Glasgow. I think there was a lot of gangs and a lot of knife crime and that. It's a mad thing. It's a mad dynamic to grow up with, and that's normal. Do you know what I mean?
For sure, it was probably normalised in your area, but even a lot of other areas in Scotland that wouldn't have been seen as anywhere near as sort of a common occurrence. For somebody at 16 or 17 to be stabbed. But a massive thing to go through when you're that age, especially for it to happen twice, right? So it sounds like the second time that it happened, it was way more serious than the first time by the length of time that you were in hospital.
Both times are bad. You know what I mean? It's 2 attempted murders, basically, isn't it? I survived, but the second time was like that kind of set me off my head. And then I would fight a lot. After you, and then I would go. So I was in the nightclubbing scene. We'd go to nightclubs and stuff like that. And obviously, people have got knives all the time. And there's been other instances people have pulled out knives to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is, mate. I just had this fearless attitude. Like that wouldn't put me off.
Yeah.
So quite a bad thing to say that, but that would people something like, unless they're going to use it, because I can kind of tell if somebody's going to use it now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I went a wee bit crazy for a while.
Do you think that instant made you fearless then? Do you think that because you've came so close to death, that do you think that kind of gave you that edge where you thought, well, I've been as close to this as you can get? And
possibly, I think the word would be reckless though. Fearless through boxing. Boxing can help you with that, but I think I became really reckless. You know what I mean? I'd get involved in things, and I just didn't have I had a really gung-ho mentality to a lot of stuff, and it carried with me for a long time. You know what I mean?
How long did this cycle go on from that point, from sort of being 17 and the 2 stabbings and
maybe nearly 20 years? I'm not hard 20 odd year, even the new, I'm still got that in me. Like, I've been through that, and I've got situational awareness to a lot of stuff now. Because obviously I thought about it a lot in my head, like what happened to me and how it happened, and if I'm in a situation again, like, I can kind of see if it's going to happen to me or not. Do you know what I mean?
But I would never have thought you to say 20 years there, because like I think I first met you maybe about 5 years ago or something like that at Rab's fight in London, and we obviously went out to that warehouse party after Good night. But you don't like you're a nice guy, you're a good guy. You don't like, listen, I'm not saying that because you've been stabbed or whatever that makes you a bad person. We kind of spoke off camera. I had something happened to me when I was a teenager. A violent attack was bottled and I was bleeding to death. So had not quite to the same level as you, but I've experienced similar things, right? But just when I asked you how long that cycle then went on, you know, I wouldn't. That's surprising for me for you to give that answer, because you don't seem like you're a friendly person. You don't seem like an aggressive person, you know.
I've never not been a friendly person. I've always kept my character. Do you know what I mean? But I'm saying, like, if for instance somebody was half aggressive to me, I would fire back with that, with double the amount of aggression, even if it's just verbal. Do you get what I'm saying? I would never I would never take a backward step and submit to somebody, because I purely know that, I don't know, I'm tough enough to handle that. Maybe it's a stupid mentality. Like, me and you went to a nightclub in London. There wasn't any fights. There wasn't any trouble.
No,
so
it's not that kind of place.
It's not, it wasn't that situation never happened. But I've been in hundreds of fights since then. Do you know what I mean? And actually, even like, I didn't have I had a recklessness to even the way I earn money. Maybe done some illicit things in life, and I never had that kind of stop button. Maybe getting stabbed caused that. Do you get what I'm saying? For instance, I ended up in prison when I was 19 for things like that. Maybe if I wasn't so reckless in life at that point, that wouldn't happen to me. Maybe if I wasn't so reckless at that point, maybe I wouldn't have got prison when I was 36. That's what I'm trying to say.
How did you first end up in prison?
How did I end up in prison the first time? Just try to make money in an illicit way, which I don't want to really get into detail with, but spent a few months in a young offenders institute, Pullman. I was first in adult jail and then Pullman. First experience with prison, and that wasn't really a good experience, because you're in your prison cell 23 hours a day. In the adult jail it's clearly relaxed because everybody's got full of heroin and that, and it's quite just old guys getting on with it. But in the young offenders it was like constant. It was like really, really juvenile. It was like being back. So you say I'm like 18, 19 at the time. It's like being back in school with the kind of stupid mindset that a lot of them have got, and they're just challenging each other every day. And I never get involved with anything in that prison sentence. Just a few verbal things like that. But there was like, I seen some bad things happen. Do you get what I'm saying? I seen some really, really bullying and some bad injuries that some people got, and some worse things than that. I don't really want to get into detail to make it too dark, but
yeah.
That was a good experience. That was a good experience. That was a life-changing experience as well.
Pullman's got a reputation, right? I remember there was a documentary on, maybe it was on BBC Scotland or something. This was like maybe 10, 15 years ago. But I remember guys from my area that went to Pullman, young offenders and stuff, and they'd came out and they'd speak to us about it. And I can always remember hearing that it had, like, I always had this feeling that it had this really fearsome reputation as being like really, really nasty place to be, in terms of, not that any jail would be a nice place to be, but just in regards to what you were saying there about almost like the bravado and a lot of violence and a lot of violent things happening. I know you mentioned you don't want to talk about some of the darker side, some of the stuff that you saw, but maybe you could share some experiences or some stories of some things that...
There's gangs. If you're from Glasgow, you're kind of the upper echelon of... Because I seen like they kind of ran the prison. To be honest with you, guys for Glasgow ran the prison. I seen a lot of bullying. I seen maybe heard some people getting raped and that sort of kind of mean things like that, which is just dark. You know what I mean? I heard some people talking about that. I just seen some outrageous stuff.
What's going through your mind at that point when you're in there? What age are you at this age?
I think it was 18 turned 19. 18
turned 19. What's going through your mind at that point? You're in Pullman, you're witnessing some of these things that you've just mentioned. You know, you're hearing people getting raped. What are you thinking? At this point, are you thinking, I've got to turn my life around, or what's your thought process here?
I just remember thinking, I shouldn't be here. This is fucking stupid. This isn't me. My upbringing doesn't really justify this in a way. Made a mistake and paid for it, but I just thought it's a depressing situation. I'm missing my mates, I'm missing my family, I'm missing my girlfriend at the time, but it was character building as well. Maybe in the back of my head I understood that, and it just wasn't in my life, mate. That's not the guy I am. I'm not that guy. It happened to me, but I'm not that guy. So I wasn't planning a life of crime. Do you know what I mean? And funny enough, when I left Pullman, my lawyer, who was like a friend who knew I boxed, he was doing this new sport, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and mixed martial arts, in the Grip House in Glasgow. and he's a really nice guy, and he kind of maybe cared about me and thought, right, do you know what, I'm going to get you into this. So the kind of week that I left, he's took me up the grip house to do jiu-jitsu. I was maybe about 19 then, or just turned 20 or whatever, and that was kind of my step into MMA.
Amazing.
Which was great. So from the badness, I got the good, and that's probably the same situation I had with this time in prison. From the badness, I get the good, because you've went through, you've been tested, God's tested you in some form of way, and you pass the test, you come out with the right attitude, and you're blessed with something good.
Amazing. So you were 19, 20, that was your introduction to MMA, you started training
19, 20, yeah.
at the grip house, and you went on to have quite a few fights at that point, right? Maybe you could tell us about some of those experiences and maybe some of the things that you learned from that point in your life as well.
It was a great time in my life, man. So when I went up to the grip house and I fought, I was like 9 stone, 57 kilo, soaking wet, and I fought, because I could box and I was a wee bit half tough, I thought I was the man, right? And I went in, and I remember like one of the first nights of sparring, I sparred Guy Ramsey, who was like an older guy who runs the gym, runs a Muay Thai, fantastic human being, man. And he fucking leathered me. And, my ego, when they let me go back to the gym, so I didn't go back for like a long time, like 6 months or something like that.
Wow.
So that was quite hard. And then I remember my dad saying, don't fucking do that. Like, he was always negative about fighting and that. And then I started like getting about in the town again and just living quite a shit life, mate. Just like getting involved with the silly things and wasting my time, not been living purposefully. And then I get back into it, about 20, and then had a few amateur fights. Fucking loved it. I always remember saying to myself, I want to fight in a big stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember fighting my second amateur fight in Meadowbank, which is a great stadium.
Wow.
I had like, lots of people came to watch me in that. And it was a great experience. And then I remember thinking, like, because I'm a boxer, my grappling's not brilliant, but I don't know how to kick really too well, even though I'd fought. And then I went to Thailand that winter for a few months, a couple of months. I went to Thailand, had a few fights in Thailand, had a Thai fight and an MMA
really?
fight. Aye,
wow.
Learned how to learn Muay Thai basically. And that was a great experience. Like, that was my first kind of time travelling by myself, because I've travelled all the world fairing, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I just basically took a backpack with like fucking 2 t-shirts and a phone and a charger and my passport. It was just fucked off. And that was good. That was really eye-opening.
Sounds like an adventure almost, like you're just going on a woman a prayer kind of thing.
Fantastic, man.
Yeah.
That was my first time kind of experiencing maybe like other people from other parts of the world and other cultures, which I think, because I've done that, I've travelled a lot, that's opened me up to a lot of things as well, I think, personally. I said that about yourself as well. But I think when you travel and you get to get outside your own environment, it obviously educates you to the different cultures and different people from all over the world, you know.
100%. You meet people from different parts of the world, you see their perspective on life, and it definitely opens up your eyes. 100%. My cousin, my little cousin Saul, shout out to Saul if he's listening to this. He's a boxer. He boxes for the Scotland squad.
Oh, wow.
And he's kind of dedicated, you know, most of his early life to, he actually fought in Taekwondo before boxing, but he's dedicated most of his early life to like hard training, and he's not done a huge amount of travelling or anything, but he's got a shoulder injury just now, and so he's out of training for a good few months, but he's decided to go off to, he's got family in Australia, he's decided to go off to Australia whilst he's injured to just do a bit of backpacking. And I said that, I was like, that's the best thing you can do right now, just to like open your mind to new experiences, you know what I mean?
Can't beat it, man.
It's when I was younger and I moved to Ibiza, I think I was 21 when I first moved. It just completely opened up my mind to like different way of life, different perspective on life, soaking up different cultures, and you're mixing with people from all over the world. It was the best thing, and probably the most maturing thing that I could have done.
Especially Ibiza, man. Ibiza's got so much to offer you, doesn't it?
Definitely.
So much to offer you.
The thing is, there's people from all over the world there in that tiny wee island for the time, so that was great. It was great for that aspect of it. But Thailand, I've not been to Thailand yet, and I really want to go. I was actually thinking about maybe trying to go in January, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it happen. But I feel like going when it's cold and dark here and getting over there for a few months in the sun must be like the best thing.
And if you do it right, it's not really that dear, mate. Like,
no.
You can get a wee apartment for cheap, get a wee scooter for cheap. You can waste money there, you can blow money there, obviously, because I've been a few times, but you can go there really cheap and just live really stoic and go to the gym and I recommend it for everybody. It's funny you said that. A few people say to me they'll go in January.
Really?
I think somebody, the universe is telling me to go in January.
Go in
You're
January.
the fifth person that said they're going in January.
Mate, if I go, you should come as well if I go.
100%.
I think Rab was talking about that.
Rab
as
said
well.
it.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
said it, and a few other people said it to me.
I think there's some big parties on there in January as well. So
Aye, there's always a party there, man. You go to the filming parties.
Yeah.
So they're an experience, man. I remember, I think my fight in Muay Thai was, I never fought Muay Thai before, it was like the 5th of January. And I went to the first filming party that landed on New Year's Eve in like 10 years or something like that. I think some mad thing like that. And I wasn't drinking, but we ended up taking magic mushrooms, these mad magic mushroom shakes.
Yeah.
And it was my first time taking that. So it was quite cool. We're on the beach and everybody's having a bit of a laugh. And because I wasn't drinking, I was staying sober, but we're up to this mushroom mountain. It's like this wee step you go on. It's weird. I've been a few times. I went with my missus a few years later, and it's all like fluorescent lights, and it's quite cool, right? And I remember we're drunk a few shakes, and because you're in that wee kind of room, it's cool. But somebody we were away wasn't taking the mushrooms, so they went for something to eat. And I thought, right, fuck it, I'm going to join them. I don't know why. So they're sober and I went and joined them. And they went to this buffet and it's like families and all that. And I'm high as a kite in this buffet, just like, whoa, this isn't the right environment. That was quite trippy. But mushrooms can be a wee bit strong, you know what I mean? That was my first time taking them.
Yeah, they're wild, right? They're pretty wild.
Really wild. And then, but I sobered up the next day. I felt fucking $1 million and went out and knocked somebody out 3 days later.
There you go. So obviously didn't have any bad effect on your training.
I don't recommend them for fighters too much, but that kind of done me well.
Nah. You, I know that you went to Brazil as well. You went training in Brazil with Rab. Obviously, there's so much MMA history rooted in Brazil, the birthplace of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. What was the experience like going and training there? How long were you there for? Like, maybe you could tell us a bit about that.
Brazil was probably better than Thailand because I was with other people. So me, Robert, Kieran Malone went. Gary Christie, who was a jiu-jitsu guy for the Grip House, went. A few other guys for the Grip House went at the same time and stayed different places. I think we went for like 7 or 8 weeks or something, mate. I can't really remember exactly, over the summer. And I'd fought a couple of pro fights, and this was like my really like learning jiu-jitsu, like proper jiu-jitsu. Because they say like, if you go to Thailand, for instance, 1 month of training is like a year of training in the world. If you train somewhere else in the world at that time. And Brazil was like that. So we went to a jiu-jitsu academy, and I remember Rabs saying to us, like, we're no jiu-jitsu fighters, we're here to do MMA. So we've looked up Brazilian top team. And I'd read a book called A Fighter's Heart by Sam Sheridan. He travelled to Thailand and he travelled to Brazil and he travelled to America, and I was kind of following this wee path as well, right?
I've read that book as well.
It's a great book, innit?
Yeah.
So he trained the Brazilian top team, didn't he?
Yeah.
And before we went there, a wee few years before we went there, Brazilian top team was like fucking Barcelona for MMA.
Yeah.
It was like the place to be. It's just this wee kind of place you got with 30. Tiny wee room, right? Wee mat. It's mad. Wee boxing ring, wee mat. And we were doing 2 sessions a day basically for 7 weeks, right? So I remember the first week we went there, first session we get leathered. Next session, leathered. That was on Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we get leathered every single session. And I mean, like, the scene is just random gringos coming into their gym and one they talking to us, punched the heads off us, right? I've never took a down in a gym apart from being in Brazil. Yeah. There was this wee guy that was for the favelas, and somebody told me he was like fucking addicted to crack and all that, and he was the only guy my size. Yeah. Punched my absolute head in, man. Leathered me. It was weird, right? So, and then the weekend we thought to ourselves, like, fuck, this is heavy. But we've already flew our way from one end of the world to there to train, you know what I mean? So, and we're kind of looking at each other all battered, going, we got to do this again. Early weekend, we sat and chilled on the beach and that. Monday morning, we drummed up the courage and went to the gym. And then walked up the stair, and the atmosphere was totally different. Yeah. The full gyms just went, oh, gringos, cuddling us and hugging us. It was as if we went through that initiation of being battered for the 10 sessions, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. They were testing your really resilience.
But because we came back, we obviously liked it. And then in the time that we were there, a lot of gringos came, lasted a session, didn't come back.
Really?
And we were joining in and beating them up. But the Brazilians were class. Like, I learned a wee bit of Portuguese before I went there. That helped me kind of communicate with some of them, but there was 1 or 2 that spoke good English. Murilo Bustamante,
the legend.
Coach. He was like the first ever middleweight champion of UFC. He was like brilliant. We went to his birthday party with his family and that, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And there was a guy, Milton Vieira, who actually, he invented the anaconda choke.
Wow.
Really super cool guy. He was just basically looking after us every day, away him every day, like, hanging about with his wife and going to fight shows with him and that, hanging about with him and that. Like that was really cool. It was always good.
That's amazing.
Really, honestly, mate. Say, like, I always thought at the time, if I could like find out how to make money online. This is 2011. Money online wasn't really a thing for me then. I would have moved to Brazil.
Really?
Oh man, it's probably the best place I've been to. Probably, do you know what I mean?
What was so special about it in terms of, so out with the training and the fighting? What was so special about it? It was Rio you were in, right?
It's just got this mad energy. It's quite dangerous, I know, obviously, because we went to favelas and that, and it is quite a wild place, and you can see the wildness in it. But I'm not just saying I'm from Glasgow, I'm from a tough place, I can handle it. I didn't feel too like worried myself, obviously, because I'm quite aware of like what's wrong, so I'm not going to go down that street if it's fucking full of rough guys, you get what I'm saying? I'm quite clever, switched on to that. But it's just got a mad energy, good food, beaches are amazing. It's just, I can't really describe it. It's just, you need to try it, mate. It's so, Thailand's cool, but I was there myself and I was just meeting people there, but I went with my pals and we were going through this together, and we were just starting to be like pro fighters at the same time together, and that was really cool. I shared a room with Kieran Malone and Robert and Gary shared a room down the stair, and we were the young ones, they were the old ones. And it was like, me and Kieran's room was a pure mess. And Rab used to come up and just moan at us for our room being messy.
That's so typical.
And it was mad because it was expensive at the time. The reais was dead bad to the pound, and I fucking spent about $2,000 in the first fucking week, man. On food and that, like, it was mad, but it was a good experience, man. I'm really, really glad I done it. And I wasn't great at jiu-jitsu. Still not the best at jiu-jitsu, but when I came back home from Brazil, I was tapping everybody in the gym and I was on it. I was really on it.
Wow.
And I had my best performance. I think I came back like a few weeks before like my third pro fight, and I knocked a guy out in like fucking 20 seconds or something like that. I was just right switched on to combat then, you know.
That's amazing. How did you end up in the favelas?
Invited up.
Did you?
Invited up, get a barbecue up. And, because those guys from the favelas were training me.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's not as if you're going to hide for them and that.
No,
we weren't hanging about my time, we went up once or twice, but it's basically like, so all the prime real estate everywhere else in the world is on the hills, like Marbella and stuff like that. But it was the other way about there. On the hills is like the kind of favelas, so they've got the beautiful viewpoints and that, and they're quite cool, you know. But you walk in and there's guys with machine guns and gangs, and there's armed police at the start of the road, and that is wild, you know. It's
wild, yeah. Do you think? Because I've spoken to a few of the guys at the gym or that have maybe been over when somebody's been fighting recently, and has it got worse? Has it got more dangerous? I've got friends that got robbed at gunpoint and it was in Brazil. I don't know if it was in Rio, but they were the DJs. It's my mate Scott and Stuart. Shout out to them as well if they're listening. I think they'd been sat in a cafe or something, and they had their laptops out. And basically, when they left the cafe and they went out, a car just pulled up in front of them. Boys jumped out with guns, robbed them. Do you think, has it got worse since then? Or I've spoken to some people that are like, it's so dangerous.
I don't know, mate. Well, that's like a situational awareness. I wouldn't have my laptop in a cafe in like a country like that, you know what I mean?
Same, to be honest.
It kind of has its own reputation.
Yeah.
So that's probably just them. I don't know, but my friend, my mate, so I ended up living in Ibiza as well with this guy who's a really, really close mate. He was living in Ibiza. He's well set up in Ibiza, and he got a Brazilian girlfriend, and he went there the last few years, and he seemed to love it. He's actually like to go back. Yeah. And he's quite a switched on guy, and I'm pretty sure he would say it seems to. I mean, that's the only experience I've got with somebody talking about it, but he says it's great. He's actually wanting me to go back here with him. Yeah, so you're gonna go. I don't know, mate. I actually, as soon as I go to a place, I want to stay there. That's my problem. I've stayed so many places, but I think I'd fancy going there again. I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't tell if it's any worse, mate, to be honest with you.
You mentioned there you were learning Portuguese. You speak 3 languages, right?
Aye.
What languages do you speak?
I speak Portuguese, and I speak Spanish, and I speak English, obviously, and I'm learning Arabic, so I'm kind of trying to go on the 4th one.
Wow, it's impressive. That's impressive. We'll get, obviously, you have went on to live in different places. We'll get onto that in a few moments, but just whilst we were on the point of that sort of early point of your career, then your fighting career, how many fights did you have at that point?
Pro fights at that point, I think I had like 7 or 8. So I've retired a few times. I retired at 26.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at 26 I had like 6 fights. After an amateur career, after an amateur boxing career, after the Muay Thai fighting, after a lot of grappling experience.
Mm-hmm.
I was 26. My daughter was born. I retired purely on like my dad kind of gave me the advice, but he was right because it was like 2012, I think. And McGregor hadn't really came about yet. And it was like, fucking like, you've got a kid and you need to make money, mate, and we wasn't really pulling in money. And I had a business that was like a logistics business, so I was like, I had vans that moved cars about and stuff like that. And I was always doing like mad long hours, and I had to sacrifice something, so I sacrificed the fighting. And
that was the reason behind stopping at that point.
Just money, mate. I didn't want to be like the best fighter in the doku, like when it was skint. I didn't really fancy that, and I had a kid and I had like obligations to fulfill. And then 2014 I came back, had a fight, trained with James Dillon at higher level, cracking fight camp, like done everything. I was fighting a guy called Craig Derbyshire who ended up a pro boxer. He trains with Danny Mitchell. I was really up for the fight, really evenly matched fight, 2 boxers kind of fighting MMA. And the last fucking 2 days before the fight, he was injured or something. And I fought like a kind of journeyman guy. And like, the guy clipped me a good shot, but I won the fight in like 10 seconds. It was a really easy fight. And that kind of sickened me a wee bit as well.
Really?
I know a lot of people fight like journeyman and stuff like that, but I like to be challenged and tested. So I'd retired, came back, trained at Dillon's, done this great kind of fight camp, was right, like, let's fucking go again. And I had a right easy fight, and I just kind of sickened me a wee bit, you know. And then I retired for a wee while before that, came again in 2018, had another fight, and then fought a few weeks ago.
So it's an opportunity to test yourself, right? It's like, you're not going in there for an easy fight. You want an opportunity to actually test yourself, test your ability against somebody who's evenly matched against yourself, right?
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally like that idea. I think, apart from that guy that I won dead easily, like, I think all my fights been pretty hard, man. Especially when I was like a flyweight. It was like a new division, so there wasn't really much of a division, and I think I ended up like fucking 3rd in Europe, and I was like 24th in the world because there wasn't really a lot of flyweights about. But I done well. I was like undefeated for a while, and every fight was hard because I wasn't that much flyweights about. I couldn't fight a guy that had like 10 losses in a row just to pad my record.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of that happening in boxing, which I don't really. It's part of the sport, so I can't really say anything about it.
Yeah.
And then it happens in MMA. Just like managers get good fighters, and I don't. That is what it is. It's part of the game. But just for me personally, I always had hard fights and enjoyed the hard fights. Even like I spent fucking 6 years out and went and fought in PFL against a really good guy recently, Matis Sarakovs, who's like a really good top fighter. So I could have come out and went, oh, go on, give me an easy. I don't really want to do that, mate. Especially at 37, I've not really got a lot of time left to fight fucking puddings. I want to go and have a go fighting good fighters.
Yeah, wicked.
That's my opinion. That's my take on it.
That's a good attitude to have about it, definitely. So, yeah, at the first point of retirement, then you've decided that fighting isn't the path that's going to lead you to make good money. What happened next? What was the next part of your life? What was the next part of the story?
Just be family, man. It was straight family, man. Doing good business. I had a wee business. Started selling cars as well, and then I had that other fight 2 years later. So that wee kind of period, I was just being a family man. My second daughter was born 2016, and I don't know. I just kind of realised that maybe decided that I had to make money, maybe illicitly, to kind of fund my life a wee bit, which that is what it is. I don't want to get into detail about it, but it kind of gave me a good life. I can't say I was successful because I don't think that's a successful thing to do, but I had a decent life. And then what happened was I went to Portugal on holiday at 2015 and just thought, fuck, I love this place, man. I love this place. Like the place I went to is the place I ended up living like 10 years later. I found it hard to make money in Portugal. It's not really like a thriving kind of place, but it's just the place. It's called Lagos. Is just the best place in the world. I've travelled the world. If I had £20 million in my pocket, I would go there tomorrow. It's the best place in the world, right? And then my wee brother was in Ibiza with this guy who was like my good friend that was living in Ibiza. He was well set up, had like pubs and clubs and stuff like that. My brother was working with him, and I'd never really done Ibiza. I'd always kind of not really been into it because I was like straight fighter and wasn't a drinker and that. And I went, and cause my mate was kind of set up, he had a big villa, he fucking had everything, had the full place on lockdown, you know what I mean? And my wee brother was there, I just fell in love with the place. So this is like 6 days after my daughter was born or something.
Bad timing.
It's not really good, bad time. And thought, right, I can do something here, like whatever, like, I can see some stuff happening here. So packed my wife and my 2 kids up, went to Ibiza for the rest of that summer, fucking fell in love with it, stayed for a wee bit.
2015, you said?
2016, that was.
2016, yep.
2016. Stayed for a bit, like, stayed for the rest of the summer, rented a wee apartment and fucking just loved it, man. And then, because I was learning Portuguese and my mate was fluent in Spanish, I thought, I need to kind of learn Spanish. So I started doing Spanish lessons in Scotland. And I don't know, languages come quite well to me, I don't know. But the way I learned was good as well because I wasn't doing it like structured in a school. I was just doing lessons with someone. So I learned it quite well. And then when I went to Spain and Ibiza, I was like just basically speaking Spanish to everybody. And then, because Ibiza's seasonal, I decided at the end of 2016 that I actually wanted to have a wee go at going to Spain. So I went to the south of Spain. I went to Tarifa for a bit, for a few months, and Malaga for a bit. And this was over the course of a few months. I was going to like Spain. My whole time idea was like how to get to Portugal. Spain's a bit easier to make money and stuff like that, and it's a bit more open and stuff like that, you know. So, and then 2017 we done the full summer. Me and my family, me and my wife and my 2 kids went to like the San Antonio Strip. Got a big apartment in the San Antonio Strip. Wasn't the best place to take your family to try and bring them into living in Spain, but it was a great experience, man.
Yeah.
My daughters went to a Spanish nursery.
Wow.
It was what it was. It's, I don't know, it wasn't a great mix for a family, man, but it was my first experience of living abroad, like really spending a bit of time living there, you know, and I enjoyed that. My brother was there. It was good. That was good times as well.
After that, you went on to live in Dubai.
After that, I came back to Scotland, and I was busy making money and stuff like that. I was kind of doing quite well with some things, and I fell out with my wife. I fell out with my wife and just split up with her. And I don't know, it was like, it wasn't much happening. It was in January or something. This was like 2018, 2019. And I didn't have much happening. And like, I didn't really know what to do. And I had a mate in Dubai, and I went there and he had a great life. He's an older world champion boxer, fantastic. Kind of mentor guy to me, you know what I mean? And I was learning off him, Paul Weary's name is, 2-time world champion boxer. And I was learning off him like, how to be like a PT and stuff like that. Yeah. And I was making money. Like I'd made a good bit of money the last couple of years, and I was like kind of flush, you know what I mean? I wasn't making money in Dubai, but I was like, had good money in my pocket, and I just was going to Dubai, like, back and forth. Had a wee apartment for a while. My brother came, but my brother was mad. He was fucking fighting with people and that. Like, he is
that not really bad news in Dubai? Can you know?
He was fighting with people, and like it was a bit hectic. And then I came back. I had to sort out the relationship with my wife. You know what I mean? Like we get back together, and it was COVID at this point. So it's 2020 at this point, and we're trapped in a house at COVID, and like you literally can't fucking move. How bad it was. You know what I mean? That full thing they put us all through, and I had a wee bit of money. Like I thought to myself, I just need to relocate, and now it was the time to go to Portugal. I thought, you know what I mean, but it wasn't. Didn't just decide that right away. But in the back of my mind, I thought I'm going to end up in Portugal here. Yeah. And I was sort of practicing Portuguese. You know what I mean? And so when the borders opened, they opened the borders for COVID. Yeah. We were like one of the first people to leave.
Really?
We drove down, and I had a Jeep, right? Me just packed a full Jeep full of stuff. Me, my wife, and my 2 kids. And drove down through France, went to Barca for a few weeks, went to Malaga for a few weeks, up to Lisbon for a few weeks. This is during COVID as well. It wasn't like pure open, but it was some experience. Like, I'm talking about like a few weeks in certain bits. I was just kind of scoping where to go. And we went back to Lagos a few times on holiday, and we just ended up in Lagos, mate. My kids went to like a private Portuguese school, became fluent in Portuguese in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
My wife was really happy. Turns out my wife was pregnant with my son. Yeah. At this point, I'd always wanted a wee boy Brian, because I'm Brian, my dad's Brian. I wanted a wee boy Brian. Yeah. Mate, that's just one fucking absolute blessing of a time I had. You know what I mean? Really, really good. Ended up in Portugal. Had a big villa. Had like kind of right on the beach, this big massive plot of land, two houses and one villa. So one villa's like two houses. The first villa was like 4 bedrooms, so we all had a bedroom each, and my wife was heavily pregnant. The next villa was my brother, my sister.
Yeah.
We got a big dog, a big pit bull. Like, life was sweet for a wee while, man. It was like really, really good. And then it was a shame, like really, really kind of hard at this point. Like, I kind of lost a lot of money with a lot of things just because I was away in a different country, you know what I mean? Like,
What was it about Lagos? What particularly about that place do you like? What made it so special? Because you've obviously been to a lot of places. You've travelled, you know, to a fair amount of places throughout the world. What makes that place so special?
I don't know. Do you know that I can't even really explain it in words. I can say some things I like about it, but I can't really explain that. I've just got this connection to it. I've never really felt settled in Scotland. Maybe I've had a mad weird wee things in my upbringing and some of the trouble I got into when I was younger and that. And I'm not into a lot of people I'm not into a lot of the things that people here are into. Like, I'm not into football, I'm not into gambling, I don't really like going to the pub and that. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of excluded for a lot of stuff here socially. There's a fantastic gym in Lagos. It's actually Colin Burns, Shinobi MMA, really fucking great guy, man. Like, he's Conor McGregor's mate.
Yeah.
He's always in Conor's corner. And I just kind of really clicked with him because he's Irish and I'm Scottish and we're full of Portuguese people, do you know what I mean? And through COVID, I was training with him. I don't know, mate, I just can't describe it. It's just such a small place, but it's got everything in it. It's got a big, massive, it's got a wee marina, sorry. It's got the best beaches in the world. Like Thailand, Brazil, I've been to Bali, I've been everywhere. There's not a beach. The beaches in Portugal are the best.
Really?
Aye.
Yeah.
There's surfing, I was doing surfing, I had a skateboard, I was doing skateboarding, mate.
Wow.
Just see that kind of life, you know what I mean? That just really clicked with me. But as I said, I lost a lot of money just fucking through various things, situation where I was in the world and that. And
am I right in thinking, did you end up sparring with McGregor when you were there?
Aye. So Colin just clicked with me, and me and my brother were training at his gym, and he came to me, he's like, Brian, because it's COVID, Conor's doing a fight camp here for Dustin Poirier 2. And I was like, as if that'd be cool, I might get his autograph or something. He's like, do you want to do the fight camp? And I was like, fucking damn right, damn right, mate. So all the SPG guys came here.
Yeah.
And that was fucking wild, man. Conor McGregor had like security surrounding him all the time, and I was talking to security guards and that. I ended up doing close protection security. That was the first time I'd ever spoke to people about it.
Really?
And I'd done a bit of sparring with McGregor and that. It was fucking wild, man. It was really, really cool.
Good experience.
Cool. Really good experience. And my wee brother, so McGregor was going to fight Manny Pacquiao after Dustin Poirier. That was his kind of plan.
Really?
And my wee brother's the same dimensions, kind of similar style to Manny Pacquiao. So they put my brother on like a nutrition program, and I think they've got to give him money to do the fight and stuff like that.
Really?
Aye. And
to be a sparring partner for the camp kind of thing.
For the camp, aye, and take him wherever he was going to go.
Yeah.
But that fight never materialised because Conor got injured, I'm pretty sure. But what an experience, man. And I was like retired, I was kind of not really in fit and all that, but I had a really good go with them all, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I done well, but I wish it was like 5 years before and I was like in a fight.
Fight
mind, but
yeah.
I learned a lot from him, and what an experience, man. What a great experience.
That's wicked. We kind of spoke a wee bit about this off camera. You obviously mentioned the close protection there, right? Now, when we spoke about this, obviously I'd kind of said I'm not a fan at all of Andrew Tate, mainly because of his misogynistic ideology. But I'm really intrigued. You ended up working for him, is that right? And am I right in thinking that was to do with the close protection stuff?
Aye.
I'd like to know how that came about, maybe a bit about what that experience was like, and if anything, what you learned from it.
I see, like, before you say that, mate, like, I don't really class him as misogynistic as well, so I don't want to say that I'm agreeing with that. That's your point of view, do you know what I mean? I need to respect your point of view.
That's all right, that's fine.
But so how did that come about? As I said, I lost a bit of money, right? So I was like trying to find ways to make money, and he's got this kind of group thing that I joined, and I was going and doing like meetups with him and stuff like that. And I done a meetup, I met Tate, and I done like a kind of close protection course. They were kind of, through them, I learned how to do close protection. I went to the Ukraine and learned how to be like a CPO, how to be a close protection operative.
In the Ukraine?
In Ukraine. Before the war.
Wow.
And that's probably one of the best places I've been to. That Kiev before the war was sick. It's a shame that all happened there, but that was a really, really good place to be. So I spent like maybe about 5 weeks or something there. And then I done the same course, a similar course in the Philippines as well, a coast protection kind of course. So my wife and that, they were still in Portugal, and this kind of energy was happening in Marbella with this group. So I went to Marbella. Obviously I knew guys that were part of the group and stuff like that, and they were all like cool, multi-millionaires into like marketing and crypto and stuff like that. And Tate was going to Marbella, so Luke Barnett, who's like part of the group and that's his friend, I was kind of pally with him through fighting and stuff like that, because we were in a group, we knew each other, we were fighting and stuff like that, I was training and stuff. And he said to me, like, Tate's coming to Marbella, do you want to come and party with him and all that? And I was like, kind of thinking, like, I'm not really into like partying, I'd like to just kind of be there, just meet him or whatever. I'd met him a few times before that. And then he said, I'm looking for like security, and I says, mate, I've done a course on security, could I do the course, could I get a job? And he's asked Tate, and Tate's went, aye, fucking hell, damn right. So I thought I was going to get, like, I'll just say I'm not going to say the figure, because I thought I was going to get like a certain figure for a few days work. Tate ended up giving me 5 times that, which is a lot of money, mate. Like, he gave me a really lot of money for the job that I'd done, and that was cool. It was like just as he was kind of shooting up in fame, it was like mid 2022, and like that was really, really good experience. My first ever kind of out and doing close protection, and it was cool. I got to speak to him personally. And I got to spar him, which was cool. Had a few rounds of sparring with him. The only person in the world that's probably sparred Andrew Tate and Conor McGregor within a year, man. And that was cool. And then when Tate left, the guys running about Marbella were like saying they were going to move there because they were all there together, like in a kind of trip or whatever. And one of the guys who I was really close to cracked it with crypto, like quite done really well with crypto, really well. And he said to me, Brian, I'm going to like rent a villa in Marbella, like a top villa, you know what I mean? And I was like, fuck's sake, and that's cool. And he's like, do you want to stay with me? And I was like, I think I've got a family. And I was like, fuck, how am I going to swing that? And I said to my wife, look, I'm better try to do this because I'll probably learn some crypto. And I think the guy was kind of wanting me to do kind of close protection with him on the side kind of stuff as well. As I'm staying with him, I'll probably do what I'm good at as well, you know?
Yep.
So he's rented this big fucking 5-bedroom villa in the best part of Marbella, and my wife is in Portugal, and I was doing some like PT work as well at this point, and it was cool. Like, I mean, I enjoyed it, and I'm in this great position, but because my family's away from me, I started to get a wee bit down, you know what I mean? I didn't really have the money that I had in the past and that, and I was like chasing money, like doing PTs and stuff like that. It's the first time I'd ever really tried to build a straight business in a long time, do you know what I'm saying? And I just kind of, Marbella's not the place for me as well. It's too wild. And the guys that were there, like, I was kind of hanging about with them, but they're nice guys, but quite quiet and that. But obviously in Marbella, I know a lot of like criminals that are on the run for Scotland, and I was kind of meeting them and maybe going out partying with them and stuff like that, which, because I'm lonely, because I'm not with my family, man, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I was there for a wee bit. Tried my family to go to Marbella, and I just didn't like it. I just didn't like my family being there. I would never want my family to grow up in Marbella. It's a great place, I know a lot of families are there and stuff like that, but it's not really for me. And then the guy that was in the villa with, he says to me after a week, he's like, Brian, I'm going to go and speak to my wife, my ex-wife, and my kid. And I always like people try to get back with their wives and that, so I was kind of forced, like, saying to him, go and try that, mate, I think that'll be good for you. So he's phoned me like a week later and says, Brian, I'm back with the bird, I'm going to get I said, I'm back with the bird, I'm in London. And I says to him, what about the villa, mate? Like, do you want me to give the keys back to the owner or whatever? And he's like, no, you just keep that. So I'm in fucking Marbella myself with a fucking €5 million villa. Wow. On my Todd. But you think it's a good thing, but it's no. I was fucking depressed at my nut.
Really?
Aye, because I just was doing a wee bit. I was learning how to be a PT, which was quite cool. And it was cool in the gym I was in Marbella. I think I was the only MMA coach. And there's this big, fantastic gym that a lot of people go to. But because I was doing MMA, I had like people queuing up to train with me. Yeah. Which was quite cool. So I was doing all right with that. And then in the group, like the group that I'm in with Tate and that, all the guys were coming for like events and stuff like that, so I was coaching all them. I was doing all right and meeting all these crypto guys and fantastic guys and learning so much, but I was like a bad version of myself because I was going and meeting people and partying and drinking and stuff like that. I've not really been into that, but I kind of lost my way and got lost a wee bit. Do you know what I mean?
Without going into like obviously we've got different points of view in terms of like what his ideology is and stuff, right? Without when I'm asking you this question, I'm not asking you about that. I'm asking you more so from a perspective of like he was in the last couple of years, maybe he was like the most Googled person in the world, right? Probably for a lot of controversial reasons, but in terms of like maybe like a business or like a marketing standpoint, like do you feel like you learnt a lot from being involved or being working with those guys or being like closely involved with those guys through business or anything?
100%, man, because it's not really my world, like online, like marketing and crypto and whatever, all these things, and like doing online businesses and that. Like, I've wanted to do it, but I never really knew much about it. So I basically done like a good crash course learning off these guys as well. And they're really good guys. Like, I mean, like really, like when I was in prison, ended up in prison in Malaga, and they were there for me. Like, they were helping me with money, and do you know what I mean? Like coming up to visit me and that, and like that for me speaks volumes, you know. But and like to go away from Tate and whatever, it is controversial, right? But face to face as a human being, when I spoke to him, I can agree with a lot of stuff he says because I know him as a person. Do you know what I mean? So when I speak to him, like if I speak to you as a person, and somebody says something about you, I can only relate to what I know you from.
You're taking him at face value.
Well, that's the only way I can take any human being.
Of course,
if he does say something controversial, it could be just for marketing as well. I'm not what I get in his business. I don't really know much about it. Like I can kind of summarise it a wee bit.
I have wondered that personally. I have wondered if some of the stuff, to be honest, like, do you actually believe what you're, you know, when I'm watching something, I've wondered, do you actually believe what you're saying right now, or are you aiming at a specific, you know, you're trying to catch the attention of a specific profile, a person?
Me personally, or him?
Not you.
Oh,
No.
But
Him,
I'm going to just say that. Like
Yeah.
for me personally as well, it's the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
like, on like a small level, like my Instagram's quite. I try and like get an emotional reaction out of people, and at a small scale, but it's the same thing. So people might think, "Oh fuck, that's that wee guy that doesn't like bodybuilders." It's just something pure stupid.
Yeah.
But I'm not like that.
No.
So
no.
on the grander scheme of things, that people that are involved in the internet or are involved in the attention economy, I'm quite switched on enough to go, maybe that is just a lot of it's marketing.
It's a game.
Him or somebody else or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I follow a lot of people online and like learn off them and that. Like, I know a lot of them aren't really like that when they sit down with their family and have something to eat.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
But controversy sells. Like for me to just to come out and go, "Hi, I'm Brian and I'm quite quiet" and all that, nobody's got to give a fuck. Are they really?
Very true. Yeah,
but
very true.
I don't lie.
Yeah.
I don't lie. I'll just say something that's controversial at that time that maybe gets a reaction, but I'm not lying. But I can't really describe it. Like I'm really me. I'm not going to like go and rent a fucking G-Wagon and put a suit on and pretend that I'm making 20 grand and go, I can make you 20 grand a month, because a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
No, I'm just going to say to people, like, right, I've went through a lot of shit. I think it can help you. I think it can make you, it can build your mental fortitude, is what I try and say to people.
Yeah.
And I think I do a good job at it because I know about it. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah.
a lot of the stuff I talk about is like slagging people on steroids and slagging people on this and that. I don't walk about day to day talking like that all the time. It's just a bit of controversy. So when you're talking about Tate, for instance, I can kind of relate that to that.
I understand. You know? Yeah. You're provoking a reaction. You're doing it on a smaller scale. You're not saying anything anywhere near as controversial as that, but you're doing it on a smaller scale. So I suppose you've kind of learned that aspect of it, or the marketing play. You mentioned there that you at that point, you then, obviously you were saying those guys showed you a bit of support when you were in prison. What then led from you being at the point where you were in Marbella to then ending up back in prison, and where did you end up in prison?
So I was like, just knowing a good place in Marbella, mate, and then I was drinking and fucking partying and that, which was dead out of character for me. And even you met me when I was like in Ibiza. I was a bit wild when I went to Ibiza.
Yeah.
And my wife was hating it, you know what I mean? And I'm fucking with Robert, who I really massively look up to. He's like a big brother to me, and I'm just a wee bit too wild. But he can handle me when I like that. He knows I'm alright. I wasn't like disrespectful or being bad or anything like that, but I was just a wee bit too crazy. And that was like a good emphasis of what I was going through, you know what I mean? So I ended up getting another close protection job with this guy who's a crypto guy. Really great job, like a really great guy, and he was travelling through Europe. So we started off in Milan. He got big Lamborghini, a big fancy Lamborghini, all done up for Dubai, landed to Milan. So I was like, can I make sure that nobody would fuck about him, fuck about the car and stuff like that, and can I give him a bit of support and showing my toughness or whatever that maybe that guy doesn't have. Do you get what I'm saying? That's the kind of job, that's what a CPO was. Having situational awareness to make sure he doesn't get into trouble, and doing a wee bit of training with him as well. Do you know what I mean? Just kind of being there for him. So it was a great job and it was great money. And then we went from like Milan to like Monaco to Barca, and we're doing all this kind of stuff, and there was video cameras filming and that. So it was a great wee job, right? And I enjoyed it. Missing my family though, so I'm not seeing my kids, I'm not seeing my wife, I'm kind of, my wee boys there, do you know what I mean? And like, it's a hard one, mate, because like people go and work in the oil rigs for a few weeks at a time. It's not much different, but I think I seen my fucking family once in like 3 months or something.
Yeah.
And it was starting to get on me a wee bit, right?
Yeah.
And then I ended up in Marbella, and I'm with this guy, and a fucking great job, man. I had this big massive gaff, I had a flat, I had a phone, I had a card to spend. Do you know what I mean? Life was pretty good. It's a great job. I was getting paid good money with it. And I just, the greed or something, or no the greed, the missing in my family was getting me, mate. It was starting to like sink a wee bit, because I admit it, mate, some people like to be away and conquering the world and all that, and I'm like that too. You have to have a wee bit of conquering the world, right? You can't be in watching Netflix every night with your wife for the rest of your life, because you'll get in the comfort zone, right? But a wee bit too much, seeing my family was hurting me, right? So I got a good bit of money for the job. There's this thing that I'd done for money that could end up in prison. Do you know what I mean? So I tried it, I had experience with it, and I tried it this time and it never worked. And I ended up in prison in Malaga. And a wee bit before that, right, I ended up, I was straight, I ended up praying, and I'm quite a religious guy, right? So I found like religion about 6 years ago, and never really acted on the religion all the time. Always believed in it, but never really stuck to my religion, right? And then for a few months before I ended up in prison, I did, which was mad, right? And I remember like praying the night before I got prison, and I actually like prayed to God and said, like, God, like, should I do this? Because this is quite a dodgy thing I'm doing. And like the sign I got was like, no. Have patience, 100%. The sign was like, no, have patience. Like a pure sign in my head was like patience. And then after that, my dad phoned me and he was like saying, right, you're doing well, just slow down and all that. Like, I think he kind of tippled me. It was mad.
Really?
I was going, it must have. It was weird, right?
Like an intuition almost. He's had an intuition.
Because you're connected to your family, I believe, right? So God's told me, take a bit of break. Whatever you're doing, don't do it. And my dad's told me, whatever you're doing, don't fucking do it. And he never knew what I was doing, but he assumed something's right. And because maybe I was saying, like, I was watching my family, he maybe's kind of seen the impatience in my voice. So don't need to tell you, ended up in prison. And I've been in prison before, but this is a whole kettle of fish, man. I'm in prison in Spain. I had no money. Like, I think I'd went to prison with a card, but you can't use a card. So I had €2 cash, 2 coins, and that was my spending money. Right? So I'm in this, like, the ingresso it's called, so you're in the first day and it's like the kind of holding cell kind of thing, right? And it's just for like Spanish gypsies and drug addicts and stuff like that. It's a bit of a rough place. There's like bare essentials, like, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, fuck, this is what I'm going to be for the next fucking, I don't know how many years. I don't know what the fuck's happening, right? Because it could be a few years, it could be, I don't know. And people are saying to me, oh, you'll be out in a few weeks. I'm thinking, good. And then the next guy's going, you'll be 6 years, or somebody's saying you'll be 3 years. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. So I spent like 2 or 3 days in the ingresso and I was praying. But I didn't know how to, like, so I'm a Muslim, right? So I didn't know how to pray. I know how to pray in Arabic, right? But I didn't know every like, multiple prayers. And I seen a wee guy that I obviously knew was an Arab, wee kind of rough looking guy. And I was with all these Spanish guys and they were kind of like taking the piss out of him a wee bit almost, because he was like a wee kind of alky. And I just thought, oh, fuck that. So I walked up to him and I was like, how are you doing? I says, in Spanish, do you speak Arabic? And that, he says, yeah. And I says, can you teach me like some Arabic and that? And he's like, why? And I says, oh, look, I practice Islam and I want to know more about it. And his wee face went up like that. So for like 3 days we'd just walk about and he'd like teach me Arabic and I'd write it all down and all that.
Wow.
So like, I don't want to get right into detail in my religion and stuff like that, because like it's another podcast, but I think personally the whole prison experience was a gift from God. And I'll keep saying that. It was like the best thing that ever fucking happened to me, right? So learned a wee bit of Arabic, those 3 days, and then they've moved me to another bit. So Marbella is a great place. Marbella in Dubai is like the best prime real estate in the world just now, apparently, right? But it's also like the centre point for crime in Europe. There's like every fucking nation of criminal in Marbella doing every single thing, right?
Yeah.
You can see it when you're there, right? Obviously.
Dubai as well. I mean, I seen in the news about them trying to extradite certain characters out of Dubai and
in Dubai though, there's criminals in Dubai not active in Dubai.
Yeah.
But in Spain, there's criminals in Spain active in Spain.
Yeah.
So a lot of the prisoners in Spain will end up in prison, but a lot of them in Dubai, there's like Brits or whatever doing shit in Britain, they're not going to get in jail in Dubai too much. Maybe like high level guys like the FBI want or whatever.
Yeah.
This is different. Like the guys that are active in this prison are active in Spain.
Yeah.
So they end up in prison. So anyway, I've ended up in an international wing. And with no Spaniards, so which was quite good, you know what I mean? So I've walked in the first day and I seen this big Polish guy, and obviously seen that he does MMA, he's big fucking tattooed cunt. I'm thinking, fuck, I need to like, be on it here. I'm 5'4", but I can handle myself, you know what I mean? So I'm thinking, I'm just going to growl through all these cunts, I'm going to give it to them. MD says anything to me. And I've sat down in the seat, literally 5 minutes into walking into this wing, sat down in the seat just going, fuck. What the fuck am I going to do? Can't I contact my wife? Don't know what the fuck she's thinking. Don't know what MD's thinking. And I just heard, Hissy, what's happening? a guy from Glasgow in a jail in Marbella shouted at me, and I'm like, fuck's sake, Andrew, what are you doing here? So there's two guys that I'd met one in Marbella before, and I know his pal who I'd kind of waved to, and he'd waved to me, and I'd spoke to him and messaged him a few times and that. Like, I knew of him and that.
Yeah.
So they two in this jail, 2 guys from my fucking home city, like mad. 3 Scottish cunts from Glasgow and Marbella. And it was mad because they'd been in for a while and they had a bit of money, and it was like fucking Goodfellas or something. They had everything on hand. They had people cleaning their clays and all that. And I'm quite a humble guy, so I had no money. I'd see the £2 that I had. I bought the wee Algerian guy coffee a few days, and like I'd spent the full £2. I'd no money, do you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, fucking, in this prison, like, you do not get drinking water. You do not get toilet paper. You do not get bleach. You do not get toilet toothpaste. It's not free. You have to pay for it.
For the water? For the drinking water?
So if you can't afford the drinking water, you need to drink the tap water. And the tap water is like shit. It tastes like, it's like from the toilets. Oh, man. So if you drink that, you're dying, right?
That is wild.
It's horrible, mate.
That is wild.
Absolutely horrible. It's a false scam. The whole thing's a false scam if you want to get out any debt for it. Like, I think every international prisoner that ends up in that prison, their own government pays 60 grand to the Spanish government for them getting prison.
Really?
Aye. And the Spanish government also pays them money. It's a whole big fucking scam, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I'd committed a crime. I was in prison. I'm accountable for it, right? I understand that. So anyway, I'd no money, and I'm thinking, fuck, I'm too embarrassed to ask, but they're like, do you want in? And I'm like, no, I'm all right. They're like, fuck up. There's water. So they gave me water, gave me food and all that. Do you need any clays and all that? I had nothing. And it was quite cool, but I had no way of contacting my wife because I had no money to put on a phone card. I couldn't put her number on because I didn't know her fucking number.
They have no idea you're there. Like, they have no clue what's happened.
I didn't know what's happening. So for like 3 weeks, I couldn't get contact anybody. But there is iPhones in these prisons, right? People smuggle iPhones and stuff like that. So one of the guys may or may not have an iPhone, right? And he contacted my wife, and she says, right, I know what's happening. And she came down, and this is like 2 weeks later, she broke clays down, and and I was like, I actually visited, I had a glass visit with her, sorry, like between glass, and she was like giving me dog's abuse, man. She wasn't nice about it.
I bet, mate.
She deserved it, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'd no seen her a while, and she fucking looked stunning. I just wanted to smash the window down. And, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I felt terrible, really bad. But so with these guys, it was like me, the 2 Scottish guys. There was a guy for Leeds, so I ended up really pal with. A guy for Liverpool, fucking mad character. And like, we kind of Brits, we kind of sitting there. And there was other Brits, but they were a wee bit like older gangsters that were just want to talk about the olden days, and we were a wee bit like no into that, do you know what I mean? And it was cool because they were playing chess every day and things like that. It was like a fucking youth centre, you know what I mean? And see, I'm thinking about all these violent things that are going to happen. Everybody's pure chilled out.
Was it not like Pullman or that then?
It wasn't. The total opposite.
Was it?
It was a total opposite, because when I went in, I said to the guy, like, does cunts get weapons in here and all that? Like, what's the deal? Do we need to get pulled up in here? Or what? And he's laughing at me. He's like, no, really like that. I was like, thank fuck. So, but I was a wee bit like, so no really, I'd been training people, but I wasn't really in shape. At this point, a wee bit of a belly on me and all that. And it's funny because like, when I was a bit hectic, I remember going to Robert's house. Like, I visited Scotland and I went to see Robert. And Robert's got all these like UFC posters and stuff like that, and it's great because it's his career and that.
For anybody listening, because people will be wondering who we're talking about.
Sorry, Robert
no, you're fine. We've mentioned them loads throughout the episode. So Robert Whiteford, anybody that's listening, some people don't know who he is. If you don't, go and check him out. Amazing. He's had an amazing career as a MMA fighter. He's a close friend of both fellas, obviously. He fought in the UFC. He was the first Scotsman to fight in the UFC.
Fought in fucking every
Yeah.
So Robert's like a close personal friend of ours, and he's like a big brother to me, so I've always kind of looked up to Robert. And even when I was going mad, as I said, he was always looking out for me and being there for me, right? He's like a really, really special guy to me, a big brother basically. So I was in Robert's house, seeing all these posters, and I remember clocking this like Bellator glove, and this was a wee bit like not in a good place, you know what I mean? And I remember just saying, fuck's sake, I'd like to fight in that still. And I'm like 36 or something like 35, 36, I'm thinking, I could still do that. So bypassed that, I took it out of my head, left it in the back of me and forgot about it. And in prison, I was out of shape. So was this young kind of Afghani German guy that was running around the patio, and I stopped him one day. He was like really in shape, really fit. And I says to him, mate, how much do you do? And I think he said he does it was like 18 kilometres, 180 times is like 18 kilometres, and then doing burpees after it. I was like, can I join you? He's like, aye, sure. So I had no shoes. I had like wee Converse shoes, and they weren't running shoes. And there was like a bin for like fucking clays that people had left. So I found a pair of Nikes with no laces. I put my Converse laces in them, and I just ran around this track every day. And then these two other guys joined us, a big French Tunisian guy and a French Algerian guy. So it's me and these three other guys, and we just used to do this run. And then one of the guys taught me CrossFit. Taught me all these workouts and all that. This a guy from Liverpool, but he was like out of shape. But he knew how to do it, right? So I started doing these CrossFit sessions in the jail. So you can imagine there's like 200 odd people, and because I was like, I knew about Islam and like I spoke about Arabic staying in Dubai, I was the only person that spoke to Arabs. There was a grand division between everybody. So I started doing these sessions, and everybody was all friendly together. So it was like maybe like 100 people doing these sessions at one point, right? And I'm kind of commanding them and all that. It was good.
That's amazing, man.
Brilliant, man.
Yeah.
Because I'd done coaching, and they all knew I was like a professional fighter. Funny enough, like a few years ago in Glasgow, I'd battered like a gangster guy that had a bit of reputation, and these two Scottish boys told everybody in the jail. So I had that wee bit of like, that wee guy can kind of half fight, and he's a pro fighter, so I kind of never had any bother off him, you know. So I was doing these sessions, and I was really getting fucking super fit, started lifting weights, and like I've never trained like that in my life. I never trained like that in my life. I was waking up in the morning, praying, going to the patio, because you can't stay in your cell all day. You're outside all day. You get a wee break, like 2 hours during the day, go back for a sleep, then you're out again. So you can't commit, you need to be out yourself. And I was doing like 2 or 3 sessions a day, lifting weights, doing these coaching sessions, but I was missing like combat. I wasn't doing much combat training. And then another guy from Liverpool ended up getting to jail that I'd known for 20 odd years. And he's like, how was that? And I was like, fuck's sake, I've not seen you in a long time. Like, I used to go to Liverpool and hang about with him years ago. And he said to me, I'm doing jiu-jitsu and all that. And I says, aye, fuck's sake. I says, why don't we do a bit? And like, how we got to do it? So there's these wee tiny zebra mats, and they're like fucking half a few millimetres thick, manky. So we placed all them down, and we started doing grappling with each other. Me and him were doing jiu-jitsu, and he's like a brown belt or something like that. So kind of decent high level, like really good, bigger than me and that. And then the big Polish guy that I seen, he was like, can I get involved? And he started wrestling with us, and there's lots of wee Moroccans and that, like wee rough street kids and that, and I was teaching them how to wrestle and that. So we started getting a wee bit of combat training. And but I was missing like actual fighting training. I said to my wife, going to bring me in boxing gloves and pads so I can do pads with people. But they wouldn't let us bring boxing gloves and pads in. It was weird. They didn't let them in. And I was fucking for weeks and weeks thinking, how can I make boxing gloves? And I was tying things to my garret, tying like fucking bed clothes to me and socks. And I didn't have a clue how to make them, right? And then like a few months into, I fucking kibbled. I was like, right, I know how to do that. I cut pillows open. I got the kind of wee janitor guy that works for the jail to steal pillows for us, and I cut like squares and then put socks over the squares. So I've got these socks with like curved boxing gloves, like wee thin boxing gloves, and I turned them the other way and was making pads.
Amazing.
So I started doing like pads for everybody, and sparring sessions, and we're holding sparring sessions and all that. Like, I'm getting excited, mate. It's pure enjoyable.
That's amazing, man. It almost sounds like a scene out of like Gladiator or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's mad.
Yeah.
See, like, it was like a pure movie, mate. It was like a pure movie, and because it was an English, majority English speaking people, there was like barbers, and there was like there was a psychic in the place.
What's that really?
Reading people's things, and there was like massages and all that. Guys getting Chinese guys getting massages. That was wild.
It sounds like a completely different experience to
so much different.
Poland. Is even that, were you saying that you're out, you're only allowed back in your cell for like 2 hours a day or whatever?
During the day, aye.
You mentioned earlier on when you first started talking about that you almost felt like it was a blessing. Like, what did you mean by that, and what did you learn for that time in jail in Spain as well?
A blessing. Like, as I said, I became a Muslim years before it, but struggled because I never had like the connectivity with other Muslims, right? So, and I was always a bit embarrassed, like, because you're from Scotland, and I don't think people understand what Islam really is until they experience it. You need to kind of. And I was one day I walked into a mosque 6 years ago and was curious and fun about it, and went, oh, is that what that's about? It's quite a simple thing to follow: believe in one God, pray, give to charity. It's not really much more than that. People put so much more in it what it is, the media and stuff like that. So anyway, but I'd never really spent much time with other Muslims, some but not a lot. So now I'm in prison with like 100 Arabs who are going through a hard time, well, obviously criminals outside, but praying. So I started like praying with them, started learning about Islam, and I don't think I'd ever done that until I was in that kind of situation, mate, you know what I mean? So that, spiritually, it was fantastic that way, and it made me focus on, it resonates with me, that religion, so it works for me, but I would never have got that unless I went to prison. So that was genuinely like a gift spiritually. Also, I learned about patience. Like, see, when you've got nothing but time, you learn how to utilise your time perfectly. Especially since I've came out, I don't waste my time. I don't procrastinate. I keep my time perfectly now. You understand? Like, I wake up in the morning, I've got a great routine. I stick to that routine every day. And then I was living like a few years, maybe making a lot of money, and you're just, life's too good and too comfortable that you've not really got a routine. You need a fucking routine. Everybody needs a routine. Sorry.
So it's almost kind of switched your focus onto like more positive things to be sort of working towards in life, and focusing your attention and your energy on having that time in there, and obviously give you the experience to connect with other people about your faith as well. So it's interesting. I mean, from that point, you got out when you left that prison, when you finished that sentence, or when you left prison there. It doesn't seem like there was a huge amount of time between you being there and then next thing is you're fighting at the Hydro for the PFL, which is one of the biggest MMA organisations on the planet just now. So that obviously seems like quite the redemption story. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that journey, how you went from that point to fighting under the big lights at the Hydro.
So obviously the wee story about the glove, that was always in my mind, right? And when I was in prison, I'd always had the idea that I was going to be running, maybe with Robert again, training with Robert, doing the runs with him, doing the training with him, do you know what I mean? So in the back of my mind, I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
And the first day I came out, my brother picked me up, sorry. The first person I phoned was Robert. Because like, how you doing, mate? That's mute and all that. And he's like, fuck's sake, Hissy, good to hear your son and all that. And he said, I'm fighting in PFL in the Hydro. And I was like, aye? And I just thought, I'd fucking love to do that. But who's going to sign me? I'd no fought in years. I get knocked out my last fight. Like to be honest with you, it's a mad situation, right? And so I put all that training for the prison to a fight camp. So the day I got to Scotland, I came to Scotland in the next couple of days, and he's already training for this fight. So I just started training with him as if I was fighting. There was no word of me fighting. There was nothing happening. Nobody was talking about me fighting. But just in the back of my mind, I was praying for it every day, right? This is how I believe in like religion, sorry. Prayer works. If you pray in the right way to God, God does answer your prayers. It might not be that instantaneous thing that you want at that time, but it will eventually materialise. For me, I wanted to fight in PFL and it happened for me. And this has happened to me a lot in my life. When you're right kind of spiritual connection to God, I think prayer works, right? Just, I don't want to get too much into that, but it does.
Some people would maybe say they like manifestation or something. You know, some people maybe would say like, I'm not religious, but they would look at that and say like, manifest like your own destiny, and you know, like
I don't believe in that personally, but so manifestation. Well, I'll just give a wee set what I think it is. Like, Islam means I put all of my will into the will of God. So I don't manifest it. I don't will it into existence. I pray to God for him to put it into his existence. And if his will is for me to fight in that fight, then so be it. I follow God and he puts me in that fight. Do you understand?
So your view on it is that you're putting it out there, and if it happened, like you're putting it out there for
I'm asking the Creator if it's in his will for me to get this thing that I want. If it is, and it is. If it isn't, or it isn't, it's down to him.
I understand.
Down to that energy. That's the way I believe in it. But other people that are spiritual, they say, I will it into existence, I manifest it. So it's the same similar thing, it's just a different way of thinking of it.
I understand.
So I was training for this fight that wasn't even happening, and I've got a guy that I know, Carol Prince, who's the coach of Manchester top team, and he's involved in MMA, and he's like friendly with me as well. He's like, how you doing? Good to see you out and all that. He's like, do you want to come to PFL in Newcastle? This was like the fucking 2 weeks after I left prison, and I was like, I says, mate, I'm up for fighting. He's like,
I saw you. I think I saw you.
Robert,
yeah.
I know, I seen you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So he said to me, I said, I'm up for fighting. He's like, well, by the way, there's a bantamweight fight on tournament. If MD pulls out, you can turn up the fight. And I thought, fucking hell, mate, that's mad. I've been thinking about fighting in this for the last couple of weeks. And I says, mate, to be honest with you, I've not done much fucking combat training. I'm fit, but I'm not really doing much training. And he says, no, get yourself fit for it and all that. But you'd be like a last minute replacement, so you get paid $1,000 just to turn up if you fight or no. Turns out I would have fought because the one of the guys pulled out, right? But I seen the fight, I went down to PFL, and I just like, after PFL I prayed, I'm like, right, I need to go on that, right? So I planted the seed with Carol. I met another manager, Robert's manager, planted the seed with him, and just let God deal with it. If it's going to happen, it's no. And then just kept training, and I started to say to people, I think I might be fighting in PFL. Nobody contacted me, I just asked 2 managers, can I fight on it? And fuck me, they came back to me and went, do you want to fight in PFL? And I was like, aye. And it was against Matis Sarakov, so I watched fight Lewis McGrillen. So Lewis McGrillen is one of the best fighters in the world right now, right? And Matis gave him a really good fight. So Lewis knocks everybody out, but Matis took him to the distance, a really kind of decent fight, right? So it's not as if I'm fighting a dumpling, I'm fighting a good fighter. And like, as I said before, like, I could say, oh no, fuck, that's too hard for me. I've not been training, no fought in a few years. And I went, fucking damn right. First thing I wrote back was yes. And then he wrote back the amount I was going to get paid, and I says, am I getting paid for it? I'll do this for nothing. So I trained hard for the fight, trained with Robert. Robert's a great person to be around about because he's fighting for the fight, and his mentality, I don't know, he looks after me like a wee brother in that sense as well, but just being around about him, the things that's not even on the mat, like outside the gym, he's always implanting me. If I'm like no turning up properly and I'm not putting my all in, he makes me put my all in. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like beyond coaching. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then
he's giving you the mental side of it as well.
He's giving me just that brotherly fucking thing. Like, that I've not really had a lot in my life, but through him I have. It's just quite cool. And I try in my coaching, try and give that to people as well. And then James Doolan just messaged me, so I've always been close to James, but no like talking to him all the time. Even when I was in Marbella, he was messaging me and stuff like that. He's been really looked after me all my life and that through martial arts. And he just hit me up and went, Brian, you're fighting Matis, I've got bantamweight something high level, come up and train with us. And I was like, fucking hell, mate, how good is that? So I'm training with Rab, getting all that kind of stuff off Rab, and then I'm going up to high level and getting all these training partners and stuff like that. It was the best of both worlds, you know what I mean? And I turned up for the fight, got the weight down, and my wife said to me, Brian, she's been through all my fights, she said, I've never seen you so calm in all your fights. She was like freaked out as if, and all my pals are kind of, fuck's sake, you're going to get battered and all that. Like, I kind of knew that they weren't too confident in me. And to be honest with you, I didn't get battered. I get submitted, but I had a right fucking good go. And I think the only thing is, I never really done a lot of grappling for this particular fight. Like 3 months of grappling in like fucking a few years isn't really a lot to go and fight at a level like that. But I had a really good go at it, you know what I mean? And
It's a high level. It's, you know,
Super
it's
high level,
it's a
mate.
super high
Second
level.
biggest promotion in the world under the UFC.
Yeah.
In my home city, like I'd let people come and support me. It was a dream come true. Like obviously, I'm praying to God, I'm asking to win the fight and that, but you can't get given everything. Do you know what I mean? I got the opportunity. I gave a good account. I went in the first round, stuck it on the guy, and I was like in his face at the weigh-ins and stuff like that. We two got a video. It was like 1.2 million. All the other videos were getting like 20k. We get 1.2 million because I'm giving them a verbal on that.
Amazing.
And
cool. I'm conscious. I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off here, but I'm conscious how we're doing for time.
No
We've
worries.
only got 5 minutes. I wanted to ask you more about this fight, but there's some important questions here that, being conscious of time, I'll ask you, and maybe you could give me your answers on these, because I feel like the message that you're putting out on your social media and the project that you're kind of working on just now and what you're working towards, it's quite important to talk about some of these subjects. All right, what is mental fortitude, I should say, sorry.
mental fortitude training is teaching people the ability to remain confident and courageous in the face of adversity, in the face of challenges. I don't think a lot of people dial in this too much. It's like something that I've kind of studied over like 20 odd years, and obviously through fighting and ended up in prison, I went through a lot of adversity. So I use it as the medium of like combat sports, boxing, fighting, whatever it is, to teach these lessons to people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just like I'm teaching you how to fight. It's beyond that. It's like I'm going more into like your psyche and teaching you. So a lot of people say, for instance, like today we've got problems with men's health.
Mm-hmm.
And like men's health illness and stuff like that, and that's to say that the problems that men have got is like an illness that needs cured. It's like a problem, you've got an illness, we need to cure that. The typical medical way of thinking it. I don't think it's like that. I think, right, you might at this point be weak in your mentality. Why not do some training that strengthens that? So mental fortitude training is like, cool, we're all weak. I've been weak. I've admitted that I've been weak in the past, like, but I've went through certain things in my life that always allows me to be stronger. So I built my mental fortitude through fighting. I built my mental fortitude through that time in prison. And in prison, like, I read about 100 odd books on psychology, philosophy, theology. Like, I read a lot of decent educational books. I went through like basically like courses on it, right? And then applied it to my own knowledge, my own history. And then I wrote about 7 odd books about these things, these principles. So using the medium of fighting, I can teach these principles, and it's also the stuff outside that I do with the people that come work with me. It's not just about how to throw a 1-2 jab. But if you go to like a great boxing gym or you go to a great MMA gym, you'll get taught these things, but it's left on the mat. That's all you're taught. But I try and reason with the people that work with me how the stuff that I'm teaching you, how stuff I'm learned will help you outside, how to be confident, how to be courageous, how to build your character, how to face adversity. And I use things like discipline, things like a routine, things like testing yourself, challenging yourself in certain ways that I do with certain people. It's specific to the individual. And a wee bit of my faith comes into it as well, a wee bit of spirituality. So you can teach somebody how to build a mindset, how to build a body, a physical body, and how to build a spirit. You're completing them as an individual.
What for somebody who would maybe be interested in approaching you and coming on to do some work with you and get some coaching, what might that look like? I know you mentioned there you maybe do a bit of physical training and stuff with them, but we've kind of spoken about it off camera. I know you've been doing these things on a Sunday where you've been getting guys to meet up. Like what might a session or a wee day look like where you are?
It's specific to the individual, but I'll get you in a gym. A lot of the people haven't got discipline, and a lot of the people haven't been hit in the face before. And I've always got this saying that I say, like, you can never trust a man unless he's been hit in the face. And a lot of people, successful businessmen and entrepreneurs and all that, they've got all these successes in life, but they've never been tested, and that's such a basic primal thing that they've took a good shot in the face. So I put them through like a sparring, but I coach them whilst I spar them, and I say positive things to them, and I kind of build them up in certain ways. I break them down when I need to break them down, I build them up when I need to build them up. And then other forms of training that I do outside, like maybe like kind of sprints and training and running and weights, whatever specific to that individual. And then for my online work, I put out through certain tasks, like how to build a routine. I give them a routine or work with them through to get a routine that would suit them, suit their lifestyle. And then I teach them like kind of affirmations to use. Journaling's a great thing that I do with them. I get them to write down every day what they want to be in life and what they wish for, and just it's specific to the individual. But like just building their mentality through either the training in the gym or the tasks that I give them online, because a lot of the people I work with are obviously international. And one of the most important things that I teach them is like, so religion and faith and spirituality and all that kind of stuff. The whole point of that, I think, is to find what your purpose is in life. If you live unpurposeful, then you start chasing drugs and gambling and drinking, and you kill your time, procrastinate with the wrong stuff, because that's agents of the devil or agents of bad energy, whatever you want to call it. So I try and get that away for everybody. I personally think that if we took away drink, drugs, gambling and cheap sex, like prostitutes, OnlyFans, free porn, that kind of shit, or you make people get away from that, they'll start to find their purpose in life. So a lot of my mental fortitude training is get a wee bit of higher thing, is to find out what your higher purpose is given to you by the greater power, whatever you believe that greater power is.
So you're it's not just the physical side of it and the toughness. You're helping people find their purpose and their direction in life as well.
Mental, physical, and spiritual.
That's cool. That's really cool. I'm going to wrap the last couple of questions into one rather than asking you them separately, just because I'm kind of conscious that we're running tight on time. But you've obviously had, you've had quite a life. What have the experiences in your life, ups and downs, fighting, travel, jail, and everything else, taught you about the world? And also, what kind of things have you learned throughout your life that you would then use to give advice to any guy who's struggling or going through a hard time or feeling lost or down right now? Because I know that's the kind of demographic of people that you're looking to help. I know you're working specifically with men, and you're trying to give guys a bit of direction, a bit of purpose. So anybody who's maybe having a bit of a hard time just now, maybe you could give them some advice, and maybe you could use some of your life experience from everything that you've all the knowledge that you've soaked up with everything you've gone through in your own life.
What I've found in all my experiences in life is, what I believe in is, this life is but a footstep in what your soul's going to experience. I believe that. I believe there's like an afterlife, and I believe there's much more to what this physical life that we live is, basically. So I believe it's just a footstep in what we're really going to go through. So don't take it too seriously. There's obviously going to be tests. I think this full life is a test to maybe make our soul go through a different thing. I can't really describe it because I've never experienced it, but it's what I believe, right? So don't take it too seriously. You're going to get hit with so much problems. You're going to get hit with so much adversity. As long as you can be strong enough and resilient enough to get through this test, because there's going to be multiple more, and each time you get through this test, there's going to be more character or more strength to get through the following test. As long as you're able to realise that life is but a test, I think you're kind of halfway there to living a purposeful life, or living an easygoing, good life. But if you see every small test that hits you as a big major problem that you can't get through, well, you're not passing that test. You're not passing that test. So I've had many tests, and each test has told me there's going to be another one. And what I believe is, it's a grand scheme in this whole life is just a great big test, and I believe I'm going to go further on in an afterlife or whatever it is. I'm going to meet my creator, whatever it is. So don't get too heartbreaking with the losses that you achieve, because they're just lessons.
Wicked. Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said in that, definitely. Yeah. What is it they say? Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn.
That's it.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn.
That's it, mate.
On that note, we'll need to wrap it just now. Mate, I feel like I could have spoke to you for another hour at least. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Really enjoyed having you on. Really enjoyed chatting to you. For anybody that's listening that wants to check out your stuff, wants to give you a follow on socials, maybe even contact you about doing some work with you, some coaching, where can they find you? What's your handles?
So I spoke earlier on about how I'm marketing all that stuff. I'm not just a guy that slags bodybuilders and people take steroids. Message me on @Hyslop, and if you're really struggling with some of the stuff I'm speaking about, I'll speak to you. But please don't just send me your life story, tell me what you're going through. And then when I ask you to do something or ask you to show me that you're willing to work it, even yourself without me, don't do that, because I'm not that guy to just listen to your problems. If you want to put in some work, message me. If not, go and speak to somebody else.
Wicked. Thanks very much, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, mate. That was good.
Thank you for listening to today's episode with Brian Hyslop. I hope you enjoyed listening to that as much as I enjoyed having the conversation with him. If you did enjoy listening, then please give us a like and subscribe. Please feel free to give the episode a share with your friends or on social media. And please check out our sponsors, Paradaiza. You can find links to their website in the episode description in the show notes. Thanks again, and see you next time.